Hello, I'm Mark Baer. You're watching the YourTown television show. My guest, Callie McKenzie, also goes by the stage name Honey Delight, and we'll go from Honey Delight from here on. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I'm going to let you kind of run down your bio. So
Okay.
First of all, so
Yeah.
that's your first question.
Okay, thank you. I would describe myself as a dancer first. I've been dancing since I was young, and that led me to discover aerial arts and also burlesque. I started that in the Mendocino area under the direction of Melinda Miller in the Les Filets Rouges show.
So,
Yeah.
aerial arts, what does that mean to people?
So a lot of people are very familiar with the silks, or also known as the tissue. It's the very long, like draping, beautiful fabric. That's not what I do. I do the very hard, ouchy apparatus of the aerial hoop, which is a little bit more like a trapeze. But aerial arts is any kind of performance or acrobatic or circus arts where you are suspended in the air. They're coming up with something new all the time. I think I might have mentioned that we have an aerial chandelier, which is what it sounds like. It
Wow.
looks like a crystal chandelier, but with aerialists hanging from it.
Wow. And then burlesque. Let's talk about contemporary burlesque, what it is, and then kind of what the history is and what it means now.
Yeah, I think that people have somewhat of an idea when they think of burlesque that is tied to more of its origins, which is from like vaudeville. It is about the tease, definitely like a vintage feel, but burlesque is a wide spectrum, just like many other styles of dance. Like when you say jazz dance, I mean, that encompasses like Afro-Cuban, it encompasses like cabaret. And so burlesque is an art form in which people can really take their personal style, their skills and specific talents, and express it through this art form, and it can fit into more of a classic perspective, or it can be more what they call like neo-vintage, which is much more modern.
And you started the Carmel Delights Dance Company.
Yes.
And when did that start? And then how did that happen? And then what are you doing?
Yeah. So that happened shortly after I moved to this area. So I'd been introduced to burlesque, never wanted to let it go. And I just don't ever want to stop dancing and creating with other dancers and performers. So when I found the dance community through Monterey Peninsula College, actually, I started taking ballet there. I wanted to start my own dance company to be able to do more classic styles of dance, but also to continue burlesque. So I grabbed a couple gals from my ballet class and asked them if they wanted to be a part of it, and that was back in 2014. And this
Wow.
December, we're going to be celebrating 10 years of the Carmel Delights.
Wow! Congratulations!
Thank
Wow!
you.
Will you come up with one act and run it for a long time, or an act or a show or performance? You'll run it for a long time, or you'll have to do kind of a new performance every time out, or how often do you change it up?
That's a great question. So we actually do have pieces that we've been performing since the beginning, but we're also always working on new pieces.
Yeah. I mean, how do you approach a new piece?
Yeah. So sometimes I have a clear vision, and usually I choreograph when I'm driving in my car or, in the shower or something. It just kind of comes to me, and I know what I want to do, and I might choreograph the entire piece. Sometimes I have like more of an outline and a concept, and I love working with others to choreograph. So a lot of times it's a collective effort. And then sometimes, someone will come to me within the group and they've got an idea they're just really thrilled about, and they want to take on the choreography.
So where's the costuming coming from, and how does the clothing and the costuming and the whole over the topness of it all, how does it all come together?
Oh, so many rhinestones. So we kind of joke that we should buy stock in rhinestones. It's definitely evolved over time. The troupe that I came from in Mendocino, we kind of had a value of, not spending too much money. And so I didn't want to put that on my dancers as well. But over time, people really wanted to invest in better costuming. So we will order from different Etsy shops. We've started working with costumers in the area. So we actually, for our show this weekend, we're having custom costumes made. It's Delightfully Wicked, so it's Wizard of Oz themed.
Nice.
So we're going to bead giant poppies. So we have like a giant poppy flower headpiece and beautiful green mesh costuming for the bodice.
Kind of thinking like the stage at the Tropicana. It's like it's kind of that kind of tradition to it too. It's really cool. You're making it really new. It's not. It's got the history of burlesque in it, but it doesn't. It all seems very contemporary and fresh.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's a conscious choice on, because you could go either way.
Absolutely, you can go any way. And I'm bringing to my group what I know, which is my dance background, and I do love like contemporary dance is probably my favorite. So there's always a little bit of that influence. And now that I've started, with the circus arts and teaching pole dance, like I'll pull from that influence into my pieces as well. But it's been cool to go to travel and to see other performers and see like what they're bringing into it, and it's all just unique to the performer.
I was following you when you went to Scotland. Going to the Fringe Festival has been like doing some performance at the Fringe has been like a life dream.
Yeah.
That must have been a real trip.
Absolutely, yeah. We're always inspired. This is actually going to be our third year going in person, and our fourth year as a part of this Best of Burlesque production.
Uh-huh.
So our first year was virtual through the pandemic.
Uh-huh.
And the first year that we went, we did a routine that was very like Bob Fosse inspired. It was to the song One from Chorus Line, which starts very slow, and I think it's like is kind of traditional. We're just sort of like doing the hats, and you could almost hear the audience just being like, I don't know, maybe yawns or something to begin with. And then you give them a little more pizzazz, a little more razzle dazzle. Items of clothing start coming off, and the audience just built in their excitement as the piece built. And then by the end, the audience was like on their feet. The producers of the events were like starting to say, because we perform multiple times over the week, and they were starting to describe us as like one of their new favorite like groups. And one of the girls was actually on the poster for the event the next year.
Wow, so that's got to be thrilling.
Yeah. And
then when you see that, you must have you're always expanding the language of what you do, and incorporating what you're seeing, and it's a really fun canvas to be working on, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have imagined what I would have gotten from burlesque when I started. I think I was as apprehensive as many people might be, just sort of not knowing. And I've found it to be an extremely empowering and transformative art form.
Yeah, you fell in love.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just really, really cool. So let's talk about students, because you teach as well, and how did that come along? And I want to talk about difference between dealing with students and dealing with your company,
Yeah.
your other dancers.
So the first teaching that I started doing was the aerial hoop. In fact, people were coming up to me and asking for private lessons. I was really intimidated by the idea of teaching at first, just maybe not giving myself enough credit for the knowledge and the experience that I had. And once I found that I actually did have some things that I could, provide someone else and some guidance that I could provide, I started teaching aerial at a studio. And then Raz, the owner of Mistress Boutique, pulled me in to teach pole, even though I was very new at that. That's been an incredible experience. And I started teaching burlesque as well. And now even though I was so intimidated and didn't see myself as a teacher, now it's one of my favorite things to do.
How old are the students generally?
So I work mostly with adults.
Okay.
In the aerial program, I do have some teenagers. Yeah.
And then what's the difference between dealing with them and then your actual dancers of your team?
So it is a different dynamic. So when I'm dealing with other kind of seasoned performers, they are coming in with a wealth of experience and a perspective of their own, and so I'm more facilitating an opportunity for them to create and to perform, versus with students, they may be coming in with some experience or no experience, and they are looking to you to provide knowledge and guidance. And when you are a part of that process and you get to witness someone's growth, and then we just had our second student showcase at the aerial program at Sanctuary Climbing and Fitness. Mm-hmm. And I got to see, the growth of the students from 1 year ago till now. And I was just, a mess, bawling the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah.
To create in this, it's kind of a new language. Mm-hmm. Did it take you a long time to be able to visualize a whole skit? And also, are there historical pieces that you look at and redo? Mm-hmm. I don't know if I don't know how much burlesque is archived or how much archival is available to you.
Yeah.
The way you look at a movie or look at a play or mm-hmm. get any other art form. How have you looked at the historical to move it to what you want to do with it?
Yeah. I think that a lot of my inspiration comes from a lot of old musicals. Uh-huh. There is quite a bit of burlesque that is archived, and there's been a few pieces that have been inspired from watching those. A lot of the inspiration just kind of comes from the collective energy. Mm-hmm. And for instance, right now, our Wizard of Oz theme, that's been something that we've been thinking about doing for years now, and it just happened to come up this year. And I'm also noticing, serendipitously or not, there's a Wizard of Oz event that's happening the same weekend in San Francisco. And I didn't realize that we're bringing this to life on the 85th anniversary of the Wizard of Oz. So it seems like things just kind of come up when they're meant to.
I just got a text from Janice Rock this morning that because she's doing the Shakespearean piece. Yes. And you're going to do the Macbeth witches, she told me.
Yes.
So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the other tours that you guys have been on and how those go and who's performing with you at these festivals.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this vision and goal of traveling and performing came out of the pandemic, mm-hmm. Probably because we were feeling very stuck and couldn't travel. But it allowed us to really kind of like focus and hone in on skills and costuming and getting good video so that we could apply for some of these festivals. So we do travel now more down to LA, to San Francisco. We just performed last month in the Pacific Northwest Burlesque Festival in Seattle.
So how many companies will be involved in something like this?
The Fringe Festival, I mean, that's got something like 30,000 productions that are happening all throughout the month.
Wow.
In the Pacific Northwest, they had 2 days that were very full performances. So, I mean, I would guess that there were probably 20 performers or groups that were performing each evening. So probably about 40 acts overall.
So it must be kind of, in its own way, very competitive. You see where you stand, you know where you're missing, you know what others are really hitting it, and it must keep you, like, you must get home and say, okay, we're going to do this next. It might keep you really jazzed up.
Yeah, it's very inspiring.
So it must be fun being Honey Delight.
Yes, I'm having a ton of fun with it.
I'm Mark Baer. I'm with Honey Delight. And you name the name of the dance company.
The Carmel Delights Dance Company.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.